Welcome to Culture Lab Consultancy. My name's Cami Nuttall. You know who I am, Vicky, but that's for everyone else who might be watching or will be watching in the future. So let me just explain a little bit about what I'm doing here first, and then we'll go into the actual interview itself. So I've been holding a series of interviews exploring culture from different perspectives, and those perspectives are shared by experts in their own fields. And so this interview is part of that series. So if you're interested in understanding a little bit more about those different perspectives, I've got interviews on growth mindset in the workplace, how you create and cultivate that. Talked with somebody about HR analytics and the importance of measuring culture, how you create a culture of inclusion, and also what does coaching culture mean within the organization. There's so much insight in those conversations and interviews. So I'd urge you to go to my channel and have a look at those. So this one's a really special one because not only are we talking about a subject that I really hold true, and that I believe should be in the workplace, but we're doing this with a very good friend of mine who I've known for absolute age. Her name's Vicky Bell, Dr. Vicky Bell. So let me just introduce you, Vicky. So welcome here in the first place. So Vicky is a highly specialist clinical psychologist, holding chartered status with the Health and Care Professions Council. She's worked in NHS and local authority services over the last 20 years, and she's pursued additional training in adapted mindfulness-based interventions with the Sussex Mindfulness Centre. So I know we're going to be talking about mindfulness in the workplace, which is why you're here with us. But let's first experience a mindful moment, if that's okay. So Vicky, would you take us through a guided practice for say 5 minutes?
Yeah, sure. So what I've prepared is just a 5-minute breathing space, thinking about using a practice that might be applicable in the workplace. So this is just an opportunity to sit or stand or lie down if people want to adopt a certain posture, a time to settle, and a time to see what's here for you now in terms of mind and body. And the invitation is to choose a position that's comfortable for you and to close your eyes if you wish to.
Okay.
Just see what's here for you now in terms of thoughts, words and images, in terms of bodily sensations, in terms of the weather pattern in your mind, and any emotions that you may be experiencing. So this is an opportunity to be kind to yourself as you allow all of those experiences and be with them. You could bring attention to your breathing and perhaps gradually deepen and lengthen the breath, allowing yourself to let go of tension and let your seat or the ground beneath you support your body. And continue to breathe slowly and gently in and out. Now, if you want to, you could bring to mind a time at work when you felt good. You may have felt happy. You may have felt energized. You may have felt calm and relaxed. Maybe this was a time when you were supporting a client or a colleague. Maybe you were working with someone in a team, or perhaps learning something new, or accomplishing a task, doing it well. And now the invitation is to focus on your feelings in that situation. And if your mind starts to wander, as it generally does, see if you can notice that wandering and kindly refocus your attention on the good feelings in that work situation. Perhaps you were feeling really pleased or proud. Maybe you were feeling connected with another person. Perhaps you felt safe, supported. You may have felt brave. Maybe there were mixed emotions at the time. Now see if you can bring to mind what you could see in that situation. What could you hear? What sensations were in your body? What was the expression on your face? Maybe you wore a big smile, or you were showing alertness, eyes wide, or were your facial features softer, more gentle? Now, imagine in that situation that the whole team is with you. The whole team can see your face, share your feelings, and show appreciation for the work that you're doing. The team is proud of you. The team is thankful to work alongside you. The team sees you working hard, being kind, doing your best. The team supports you and wishes you well. And just enjoy sitting with those words and feelings for a few minutes, moments, as you breathe slowly and deeply in and out. And as you continue to breathe, gradually expand your focus to your whole body, letting each breath fill you up from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, as if the whole body were breathing. Now see if you notice any sensations in your body, perhaps on the surface of your body. You may feel the air on your skin. You might start to notice other external stimuli. Maybe there are sounds in the room or outside the room. When you feel ready, open your eyes, and if it feels right, you could gently stretch out your arms and legs. That was our 5-minute breathing space.
I think we should just finish the interview now, and I'll go. I'm just gonna. I feel quite blissed out at the moment. That was lovely. That was a bit different as well from what I don't know what I was expecting, but it was just lovely being and imagining and visualizing what those words you were describing. That was just a really lovely experience.
Good.
Gosh, okay, so let's get back on it, because I really do feel quite relaxed. so thank you for that. That was just really, really lovely, and hopefully you know, there will be people who will partake in that and actually have a go, because I think that's so important, to be mindful in that moment. So before we go and explore that a bit more, Vicky, maybe we could just start with, you know, what is a highly specialist clinical psychologist? What do you do as that?
A highly specialist clinical psychologist is a term for a psychologist who's reached a certain level of experience and a certain pay grade. So to become a clinical psychologist, you need experience with a variety of different groups of people. You need a psychology degree, and you need doctorate training in clinical psychology. And as part of that training, you work in different settings, you do research, and you complete academic work as well.
Right.
So I qualified as a clinical psychologist in 2004, and I began working in a service for people with mental health needs. And after that, I moved into working in services for adults with learning disabilities. So I've worked in 2 community teams for people with learning disabilities, and I now work in a more intensive support service for people with learning disabilities. So part of my week is spent in an inpatient setting, an assessment treatment unit, and part of my week is spent working with people who live in the community.
Right. So and how does mindfulness fit in all of that? Because that sounds really quite intense already. So so where does where does mindfulness fit in that practice?
Well, what I've tried to do is break it down into mindfulness, first of all, for myself. So I've attended training courses about mindfulness and self-compassion and mindfulness-based stress reduction. So I think one of the main tenets of mindfulness is that you embody being mindful. And to do that, you need lots of practice. So I began with applying mindfulness in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to take it into my workplace in various ways. So beginning with the clients that I support. So it might be that I can offer my clients mindfulness meditation on a one-to-one basis. It might be that I weave some ideas from mindfulness into other work that we're doing, like relaxation sessions.
Mm-hmm.
It may also be that we can use mindfulness to help people achieve more focus and help their attention span and things like that. So that's a big part of what I hope to develop is working with clients from a mindful standpoint. Another part of me using mindfulness in the workplace is in my supervision. So I support some of my colleagues, that might be other psychologists, it might be people training to be clinical psychologists, it might be therapy assistants in the team, it might be other professionals. And I've used mindfulness in those settings. For example, a breathing space can come in handy if people are feeling quite stressed. Mm-hmm. I've used ideas from compassionate mindfulness as well to help people offer themselves kindness if they're struggling with a really difficult work issue. And then as sort of a wider application, I'm using mindfulness to help with staff well-being. So we're looking at things like, again, mindfulness meditation. We've used various different practices like a body scan, a breathing space, eating mindfully, and and I've just created a short video for people in my team to offer them a breathing space, either when they're on a break in the inpatient setting or at the end of a busy shift. If they can just take 5 minutes to press pause and work through that breathing space. The idea being that they'll leave work feeling more grounded and less stressed.
So can I ask you, in that session you just did with me, there were a couple of things that you prompted me to do, which was basically around think of a time when I was happy at work, and connecting through my memory or visualization with team members, where they've appreciated what is behind that. Why is it important to connect with that sort of those sorts of feelings or emotions or memories?
Well, one of the things that mindfulness teaching includes is the concept of being stuck in sort of negative mindsets at times. There's a well-known phrase about your brain being like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones.
Oh, so, wow. Okay.
Yeah. The idea is to bring to mind in a very vivid way how it feels to feel good at work, and really to embody that. And hopefully everyone has at least one experience that they can connect to where they have felt good at work. They've felt proud of the job that they've done. They've felt connected to their teammates. They've felt recognised for their effort. And the idea is to really experience the bodily sensations of that again.
Right.
To give yourself practice at tuning into how it feels and the kind of thoughts that you experience and the emotions that go along with that positive experience. Because we're pretty good at practicing the negatives. We rehash things that we should have done, things that we could have said, tasks left unfinished. We're very good at focusing on those things. Part of mindfulness is about choosing intentionally what to focus on.
Right.
Kindness.
So I remember, years ago when I first started looking into mindfulness and meditation, and I know the two things are different, but they both have the same or similar end goal to some degree. Some people might disagree with me on that, but when I first started, I remember falling asleep quite a lot in doing any kind of mindful practice. Do you find that with do your team members fall asleep? I mean, your colleagues and your clients, does that actually happen?
It has been known. And one of the things that has been a challenge for me personally is because in my work, I've been very used to guiding people through things like progressive muscular relaxation sessions, where the idea is to really help people relax and reduce tension in the body and induce a very calm, sleepy state. Mindfulness is about being awake and alert, actually. So I have to be very careful of my tone and the pace that I use, and where I help people to focus their attention. And that's one of the reasons why the invitation is always to adopt a posture that embodies being awake and alert, and that may include standing or sitting rather than lying down.
Okay.
So you have to judge that according to your audience.
Of course, yeah. So how easy was it to bring this into your workplace? So was there resistance in the first place, or was it quite easy to, because for me it's something that's, it can be considered a bit, what do they call it, woo-woo, it's just, sitting down with your eyes closed and my mind's racing 100 miles per hour. I can't focus on one thing, and you're asking me to sit there for 5 minutes.
Sure. Yeah. I guess there are differences in terms of who we're trying to support with mindfulness ideas. So in terms of the client work, as I mentioned, lots of my practice was already about helping people in quite a high state of anxiety to reduce their level of stress and tension, using things like relaxation. So mindfulness seemed to fit very well with that need, and there hasn't been a huge amount of resistance, unless people have quite complex needs and maybe have other factors to take into account from their background, from their lived experience. And I'm thinking particularly about people who may have experienced traumatic incidents, although there is a small but growing body of evidence to show that mindfulness can actually help in the first phase of treatment for trauma. So I would say in terms of clinical work with clients, I don't experience much resistance. And I think that's because mindfulness weaves in very well with things that we were offering before I'd ever heard of mindfulness. So included things like relaxation, positive imagery, and focusing on the breath. So diaphragmatic breathing is a well-known and very effective strategy to help with anxiety management. So in terms of clients, it seems to go down fairly well. But as I mentioned, I do have to be careful of my tone and think about what outcome we're trying to achieve. Within supervision as well, I think because by and large the people that I'm supervising are psychologists or aspiring psychologists, they're quite familiar with the concept and are willing to give it a try and often report that it has been helpful. With my team and in other staff team settings, I think some people are becoming very familiar with the concepts of mindfulness and have purchased their own meditation CDs and have looked online for resources and are reading about it. And so are quite receptive and curious about it. For other people, they may not have any prior experience, but they're still often willing to give it a go, and that might be based on the relationship that I already have with them, if we're colleagues. But for some people, it's an unknown, and it's pretty provoking. There might be feelings of embarrassment. There might be a genuine need to have a rest and close your eyes and, you know, take some time out. So that there's never any pressure on anybody to do the meditation. It's much more about offering it and inviting people to experience it if they can, and take from it what they will.
Okay, and I do note that you invited me to have the experience, so the invitation is quite important, making it an invitation. So I do get that. Do you think it's actually improved the way your team, you do your work? You know, again, just does it improve your ways of working?
I think certainly it gives me, because I've done the additional training, I have more in-depth understanding of the possibilities. So I have more tools in my toolbox of clinical work with clients. And there is, again, an evidence base specifically for people with learning disabilities using a particular meditation, soles of the feet meditation, which has proven effects. So that certainly enhances my practice. Within supervision, I've had positive feedback when that's been used on a one-to-one or a one-to-two basis. In the wider staff team, the results are not yet in. So when that's more established in the service, I'll be able to get better feedback around that. I think one of the main areas where it's had an impact is about my ability to stay grounded, to stay kind and compassionate towards myself as well as towards other people in the midst of what is often a very fast-paced, tense, anxiety-provoking, sometimes sad place to be. If we're supporting people who have very complex and challenging needs.
Sure.
We're working in NHS settings where resources can be limited at times. We're working with a client group who have lots of additional needs, and their family and paid carers may have additional needs as well. So we're up against it. And managing all of those competing demands, managing to respond to things quickly enough and still stay grounded and kind and compassionate is a really important part of what we have to do. And I have found mindfulness very helpful for that.
That's amazing. That's amazing, because I can actually translate what you're talking about in experiences of a fast-paced environment where decisions have to be made almost immediately. Mm-hmm. In an organization that is considered to be fast-paced, and decisions have to, I mean, it depends on the organization, but if you're trying to cultivate an environment where people are working in that way, they need I can see why we would then use mindfulness to keep people grounded and introduce that as a practice as part of the organization's culture. So you serve your clients better, or you serve your customers better, or you engage with your colleagues in a more compassionate way as well. So I can see the relevance there. And so just a quick question then, is mindfulness, or there's never such thing as a quick question, but is mindfulness always to do with compassion?
I would say yes. The definitions that I'm familiar with about mindfulness are to do with paying attention to the present moment with kindness and curiosity for the purpose of relieving suffering. So that's the what, the how, and the why.
Yeah, that's very powerful.
Yes, if not compassion, is always part of that definition. Okay,
now that's really, really powerful, in fact, with the what, the why, and the how. So, okay. So I suspect we're probably towards the end of this conversation around practicing mindfulness in the workplace, but are there any places that people can go to if they want to introduce it into their workplace? Because I suspect actually there is an appetite for this, but perhaps people, employers direct individuals to go to Google Play or Apple Store and download, one or two apps that are quite popular.
Yes.
I'm not going to name them because I'm not sponsored by them, but but there are very well-known apps out there that people can do on an individual basis. But surely there is something that you can do on a corporate level as an organization and bringing this in.
Yes, so a good starting point is a report that was produced by the All-Party Parliamentary Action Group on mindfulness. There's a section of that report dedicated to mindfulness in the workplace. They do make the point that the enthusiasm for mindfulness is outstripping the evidence base at the moment for official it may be for employees. However, our MPs have chosen to set up this group and are practicing themselves and are actively gathering evidence for the effectiveness of mindfulness in the workplace. I think what they're looking at is more along the lines of stress management, preventing burnout, preventing presenteeism and absenteeism, rather than being grounded and being compassionate. But actually you can't really have one without the other. So I think that's a good starting point to look at that report. There are lots of apps, there are lots of books with CDs available. There are a couple of universities that offer master's degrees now in mindfulness as well. So a quick search using your favourite internet engine would reveal lots of reliable sources.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. On that note, I think, Vicky, I'll just say thank you so much for spending some time with me and talking through what you do in your workplace around mindfulness and sort of talking through how we can implement it. So just for viewers of this, there'll be some details in the description on the YouTube channel where you can find further information if you wish. And Vicky mentioned the Parliamentary Action Group report, which I'll put a link to, and any other resources that we think it might be useful for you. On that note, and if you like this, please subscribe and don't forget to like the episode. All right. Well, thank you very much. Brilliant.
Thank you.